Dellara is so many things: a lawyer, a technologist, a free and liberated spirit, a big thinker, and an activist, to name a few. This conversation was on fire from the jump, y'all. It was an absolute pleasure and a joy to be in conversation with her.
That's one of my other big beliefs, is that I don't think there's actually that much difference between the human mind and an algorithm. Everything that we do, everything we've been exposed to. That's why I love technology, because it increases the surface area of what we are able to be exposed to.
I was inspired and motivated and challenged, and I imagine that you will be as well. All right, enjoy. This technology, you're a technologist, you love technology.
I'm a huge supporter and advocate for the embrace of technology, specifically within the context of liberation. When we think about the book, for instance, me self-publishing this book would not have been possible without the tools that were available to me via technology, with being able to design the entire book by myself before I would have to either have a designer that I knew or pay for one. I wouldn't be able to publish on a platform and be able to have these books sent out to whoever wants to order them, or the platform that I have now. Technology represents a democratization of creativity that never existed before. And the more people have access to sharing their stories and information, the more that we can advance as a collective. And I feel like when it comes to most of the problems in this world, it's a scarcity mindset, and this idea that life is a zero-sum game, or that we have to compete for resources. And the fact that technology pretty much eradicates that idea and says, no, we can have a limitless amount of players in this game and we can all win. I'm so for that. And for that reason, and people always have their criticisms, of course, about how a lot of technology can be damaging to the environment, and that's very valid. But I also think about things in terms of a cost to benefit, and for the value that technology offers us and the ways that it can liberate us. I could talk about it for a long time, and I have been passionate about it for a long time, but technology is a baddie.
Technology is a baddie. Do you work in technology, in your opinion? Like,
I think
you work with it. We all work with it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that you can exist in 2025 without working with technology, unless you are really, you have your farm.
You do the show Afraid or No Alone,
exactly.
like 90 days.
But even then, like, in order to be on the show, you have to leverage technology.
Yeah.
I specifically think about technology as the usher of information. And the more data we have, the more solutions that we can derive from the data. And so when we have machine learning and algorithms that are able to compile human behavior in a way where we don't have to guess anymore when it comes to policy, like take immigration, for example. Study after study after study, after decade after decade after decade has revealed to us that open borders and free migration leads to better outcomes for everyone, for the elite, for the impoverished, across the board. Productivity goes up, more jobs, more money in the hands of more people. But the only reason that these ideas have been rejected have been because of a lack of information, because of censorship of information, because of a group of people who still believe in a scarcity mindset and this idea that if someone else gains something, then I lose something, when that's just not how the universe operates, and it's never how it has operated. And when we just look at the data that is compiled through the aid of technological solutions and data organization, we can see in real time that, and we can also use strong arguments to reveal that more immigration, more freedom of movement benefits all of us. It's not even a situation where one person wins and one person loses. Everyone wins. And I'm such a big fan of a win-win deal. I feel like we need more of those. And I think they're possible if we use the data to illustrate these ideas, which is a lot of what I do online. I use my background kind of within the formal education world to leverage using strong data and strong arguments to bring ideas forward in a way that is palatable and fun, because for a long time we've had incredible studies. I always talk about this. We have a strong academic world where people have spent their whole lives researching ideas and wanting to share them with the world, but it's just not sexy and it's not approachable, and people get bored and they don't want to engage with it. And so what I really want to do, not just with my platform, but I'm really trying to get others who are in positions of privilege to leverage their privilege, is to make these ideas that benefit more people than themselves available through social media, through technology, through the tools that we have. So I'm trying my best, and I just want more people to do that. And I feel like you're also one of those people. And so I'm super excited to be having this conversation so that we can just continue getting these messages out in a way that's fun and in a way that is not boring and not feeling
it's
like
yummy.
work. Yeah,
it's digestible. Yummy. I think something I do as an artist, I can pat myself on the back here, is I make dense things yummy.
Okay.
Like, I make them like food you want to eat.
Yes, exactly. And I think that that is something that's accessible if we choose to. But for a long time growing up, I don't know if you've had this experience, this idea of embracing your yumminess and embracing silliness or not being serious, especially within professional settings, it has been a punishable offense. And so it's something that has been difficult for me, but I'm so grateful that I stuck to it my entire life, kind of rejecting these ideas that I have to package things in a way that feels bland, or in a way that feels professional, or in a way that the gatekeepers like for it to be packaged, and instead to add color and add nuance and add fun and add approachability to these concepts that have been talked about for thousands of years. Even, an abundance mindset, philosophers have been talking about it for a long time, but it's just been so unapproachable. And I think now more than ever, we have an opportunity to make these concepts more approachable.
Wait, before we go any further, who are we speaking with?
Hi, my name is Dellara. I am a girl who is living life for the first time, and I have had, in a very American experience growing up. I was born in Canada, but I have lived in the United States since I was 5 years old. I have been undocumented my whole life. I still am. And I feel like I am here, and that my purpose and my job is to question the rules and to create better ones, and to use the tools that I have been given and the gifts that I have been given to make a world that is more fun, more fair, more sexy, and more equitable. And I hate defining myself. I hate that question, like, who is Dellara? Because I feel like I'm changing all the time. I feel like every day I'm cringing at the person I was the day before. And then like a week after, I'm like, oh, but I love her. Let me be kind to her. And she did the best she could with what she knew. But I think I have locked down, if I had to think about my identities, really just someone who has always been skeptical about the way that we do things in the world. And I just want to choose courage and to choose love in my design of a better world. And yeah, I'm just doing my best.
I love your vow. I've been thinking about vows lately. One of my teachers, Thich Nhat Hanh, talks about a vow. It's really beautiful, he says, and powerful to make a vow of your life.
Yeah.
I vow to be an agent of peace, or I vow to be joy. I vow to create healthy communities.
Yeah.
And you had a lovely vow, I vow to make the world more fun, more free, more sexy.
Free, yes.
We'll get into the Dreamer's Playbook, which is your book. But for those who heard this incredible love and dissertation on what technology can do for us, that was because your left hand is in silver, which stands for technology, and your right hand is gold. The nails, not the whole hand, is gold, which stands for ancestors and past.
Yeah.
And maybe the medicine of that.
Ancient wisdom.
Ancient
culture.
Wisdom. And so take me to the right hand, take me to the nails, take me to Canada, to here, to how does a young Dellara become in love with technology? Why aren't you in tech? Why aren't you in Silicon Valley? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, while I, first of all, thank you for your beautiful and generous description. I have always been I've been so interested in technology from the moment that being able to create a video in the home was possible. Like I remember I was,
How old?
I think maybe like 8 years old.
Cell phone or computer?
Computer, like webcam on like separate to the computer that you would get and plug in into the USB, and it would just kind of sit on top of the computer. And I remember just being so excited at this opportunity to record in the home and to create in the home. And I also grew up completely immersed in music, and music was my first love. And so when YouTube kind of came on the scene in my, early life, in my preteens, teens, I was like, wow, what an incredible opportunity for me to share music on this platform. I don't know what can come of it, but what I do know is I can sing the songs that I love, post them the day that the music video comes out, and hope that people, when they're searching for the music video, find me. And that was my first kind of relationship with the power of a connected world, a globalized world. And that is just not possible without technology. The ability for us to share our voices and to share our stories. For the majority of time on Earth, it was the stories that you were able to be exposed to were restricted to your geographic location, which oftentimes is not at all through, I would say most of the time, is not at all through your own choice. You don't choose where you're born. You don't choose what family you're born into. But studies show that where you're born and the family that you're born into pretty much can predict the outcome of your life and where you will end up within the socioeconomic framework, as well as where you will probably end up location-wise. And your life can be predicted by where you were born. And so when I was a young girl, being able to see how technology was disrupting how someone's whole life could be changed through globalization and through the connecting of stories. I don't think I was understanding it like that when I was younger, but there was definitely an alchemy happening. There was something where I was like, I love this. I was very much a girl on the internet. I loved going on online forums. I was a huge fan of this band called Tokyo Hotel. They were a German band, and I learned German online because I wanted to learn their lyrics, and I was just so obsessed with them. And I was able to connect with fans all over the world and share these experiences. I'm even a little ashamed to say, I wrote fan fiction about this band and posted it online.
German?
Not in German, no, in English. There was a big, they had a huge global presence. And being able, and I still have a friend, I have multiple friends today that I made online, as a young person. So I think a lot of my love for technology and for the digital world comes from how much I benefited from it as a young person. One, being able to share my passion of music. Two, being able to connect with others who shared, my love for a certain musician. And then also the ability for me to learn online in a way that just, if you are a girl in Afghanistan today and you don't have access to the internet or to the computer, you are just cut off from so much that the world has to offer. I feel so strongly about how much technology can uplift. And so I've just been a huge advocate for let's celebrate technology. Of course, let's use it in a way that's responsible. Once I got to law school and I started learning about the intersection between artificial intelligence and machine learning and the law, and the way that we actually still are in this kind of impasse where policy and the law is not able to accommodate how quickly technology is advancing. I think from a policy standpoint, we need to celebrate technology and we need to quit with this rejection of it in order for us to come up with effective solutions. I always use this example. Photography was something that was very much criticized and rejected at the time of its inception and popularization because they were like, this isn't art. This is not legitimate. This is an abomination. This is witchcraft. How are you able to press a button and then capture something that painters would have to slave hours away for? And it was very much this sweat of the brow doctrine. And it's again a scarcity mindset, this idea that like if this comes in, then I'm out of a job, where that's absolutely not what happened. It created a new type of art where people now were celebrating abstract art that just didn't exist before the invention of photography, because now let me try to figure out what I can do that a camera can't. And in the same sense, I love the creative promise that technology offers, because my big dream is that technology is able to do all of the jobs that humans do not want to do, even the ones we've convinced ourselves that we think we want to do. Such as I don't think anyone has a dream to be an accountant. I think it's something that is done out of, survival. I think you can be good at it. I think that you can find the silver lining in it. I think that you can leverage it to pursue what your dreams are. But I am very much a believer that all humans do have an innate desire to create. And my dream is that
I want to say that all humans are creating.
Yeah, that as well.
We take an active role in creating a lot of stories and fabrications and things we believe in and habits. And
every choice is a creative act. Every moment we have the opportunity to choose one thing or the other. If we really boil it down, I would say it's choosing between love and fear every time.
If conscious.
Yeah.
Because when it's habit, I believe it's not conscious.
Of course.
It's just like reaction to...
It's like an algorithm. And that's one of my other big beliefs, is that I don't think there's actually that much difference between the human mind and an algorithm.
Oh, it's what consciousness does.
It's what consciousness does, and it's just everything that we do is an amalgamation of everything we've been exposed to. And that's why I love technology, because it increases the surface area of what we are able to be exposed to. But going back to my dream, I really wish to live in a world where machine learning is able to replace anything that humans don't want to do, so that humans can do what they want to do. Well, how do they do that? My hope is that the productivity, the GDP that is produced through the machines doing the jobs that humans otherwise would be doing, would fund a universal basic income that would... God willing. And there's so much data and there's so much science that reveals how great of a policy it would be. And I do think that in my lifetime I will see it. I really do.
You think in your lifetime you'll see universal basic income in the United States?
Yeah, I was having this thought in the world. I was having this thought yesterday, where if we look at the graphs of anything, if we look at population growth, if we look at the rate of data being produced over time, it's all an exponential curve. How are we going? I mean, when we look at nature, everything, if we were to view it on a graph, is on an exponential curve. Even if we look at the ways in which stars are created today, I always think about this, like pop stars. The careers are being made in not just half the time it used to take, for us growing up, but even like a tenth of the time. And it's just getting shorter and shorter. Ideas are spreading faster than they ever have at an exponential rate. And so if that's the case, who am I not to believe that it's possible that we will see a universal basic income in our lifetime? I think maybe that's even thinking small. I think that we don't want to accept the fact that things are changing so fast because it's scary, and naturally so. But if we accept it and then we think, how can we leverage how fast things are changing in order to create a world that we all benefit from and we can all have the most fun in? Let's do that. And it's kind of what I'm trying to figure out right now, and trying to build a community around, and one that isn't reacting to how fast things are changing with fear, but instead with love and with a creative and excited and in control kind of approach to what is happening right now. I think that it can all be funded through the work of machines, which is another reason why I love technologies, because that wouldn't be possible without it. It would essentially liberate all humans from the shackles of work that they don't want to be doing. The universal basic income would pretty much eradicate all poverty, and you would be able to go out into the world and know that everyone's doing what they want to be doing and not what they have to be doing. Are there people who are going to take advantage of the system? That's always the first critique. Maybe, and there's a percentage of people that would. But I, think that there is a portion of the world that needs to heal, and they deserve to rest, and they deserve to recalibrate and rejuvenate so that they can show up as the highest and best versions of themselves and then offer something to the world that we can all benefit from. I also think that naturally, because we are creators, I don't think if you have the ability to do what you want in this world, I don't think you would want to just get by on your universal basic income check and chill when the world has so much to offer.
You're a believer in humanity.
Yeah. I am a believer in love, humanity, and its ability to win, and to maybe win is not the right word. It's to be unveiled, to be revealed. And I think for a long time it has been censored purely due to a scarcity mindset, which was developed and embedded in our biology because thousands of years ago, without technology, it was a much scary world. In order to survive, it was so much more difficult. And now, with the help of technology, we are able to allocate the energy that we used to be spending to survive and to instead create.
What do you think about all these movies where technology, it like
gains consciousness and then turns against us?
Sure, but also there's that's one aspect of them, and then there's the other aspect that's like we were so dependent on technology and then it short-circuited for whatever reason, World War VII. We don't have access to it, and so we're like screwed.
So this is my take on that. I think in the same way that when we go to school, we have to learn long division before we use the calculators in order to understand how to do it in case the calculators don't work. I very much think that we need to be teaching how to write an essay, how to communicate orally. I'm a huge advocate of speech and debate, and in my lifetime, I really want to see it accessible to every student around the world because the ability to communicate an idea, I think, is so integral to the world that I want to live in.
So you want the gold nail polish to lead into the...
Yes.
You want the youth to have the gold.
Yes, exactly.
Use your hands.
Have the foundation of the gold in order to create a shinier silver that can illuminate everything. Once you learn how to write an essay on your own without technology, to then leverage technology like ChatGPT or whatever it might be a few years from now to start asking better questions with the tools that we have. Like the questions and the conversations that I'm having with ChatGPT are so much higher quality than they would be without those sorts of tools. And asking higher quality questions leads to higher quality solutions. And my whole idea is like the more we give people the power to access better solutions, the more the whole world benefits. That person who is in poverty can come up with a cure to the disease of the wealthy elite, but we have to give them the tools to do so. And we can't allow the wealthy elite to think that their success is dependent on the oppression of the poor, but instead to think that their empowerment can be contingent on the empowerment of those who don't have those resources.
Well, tell us about this.
The Dreamer's Playbook I had a very Doechii experience with this. She is an incredible musician, and this last album that she created, which is an amazing album, she gave herself the constraint of 1 month to write it. And then it ended up being celebrated. Grammys, yeah, exactly. And I loved that concept of creating within a constraint. And I think for a long time there has been this romanticism of suffering and of, again, the sweat of the brow doctrine that the more effort and the more time that you put into something, the better it is. And this book was really just born out of an idea that, let's just say the technology all gets shut down. How can my community access these ideas and this information that has been helpful to me in a physical format and one that is not dependent on a platform or social media? And so I just thought to myself, let me just brain dump everything that I have learned and that has been helpful to me in my life into a document, essentially, and let me use the beautiful tools of 2025 to create a book that for a long time would only have been possible through the approval of gatekeepers. And I just thought there was something so fun and cunty about doing it on my own terms and just not having anyone give me permission. and just seeing what happens with it. I'm still learning so much through the process of distributing a whole book. But I'm also a big believer that the best lessons are learned through going through that experience. And of course, it requires, patience and understanding from my community, which thankfully I feel like I've spent the last few years cultivating. And I do have a strong sense of trust from my community, which is amazing. But it's really just a book of all of the things that worked for me and the things that didn't work for me. And my hope is that people can use it as a way to propel forward so that they can come up with effective solutions that make the world a better place. I'm such a believer that everyone should self-publish a book. I'm such a believer that everyone knows something that someone else doesn't. And if we stop hoarding and gatekeeping knowledge and subscribing to this belief that if I had to suffer, then you had to suffer too. And instead think, what if I bring you up to speed and then we can go further together? I think that the whole world can really, the whole collective can advance much faster. And it's a very selfish kind of pursuit. I think people look at the book and they think, oh, how altruistic of you to share all of these ideas that, you had to suffer to acquire and to learn. And I think, no, this is actually a very selfish project, because the more I equip the world with the skills that I had to go through a certain amount of time to learn, the more others can advance and create a world that I benefit from. So,
can you give me a one-liner? I'm going to name 5 sections, and you'll give me a one-liner.
Sure.
Gaming the education system.
The education system is not necessarily designed for people who don't subscribe to the identity that the larger systems of the world want us to subscribe to. And so in order to maintain your authenticity, you have to be strategic in succeeding with an education system without compromising your identity. And here are the ways that I did it.
Sick.
Yeah.
I like to say the education system wants also-rans. In a horse race, there's the winner and there's the also-rans. And the education system is not designed to create winners. It's designed to create also-rans.
Yeah. That. And also just like obedient people.
Yeah.
And
not question askers,
exactly.
but like followers.
Yeah.
Cultivating confidence.
You need, in order to survive in this world and to create the world that you want, you need to have confidence. However, the world benefits from your insecurity. And so it is not the easy route to cultivate confidence, but here are the tools to do it.
The system benefits from your insecurity, meaning the way I hear this is you're not enough by this. You're not this by this.
And
you're
they're
not
exactly
this by this.
Yeah. Not just that, but the more insecure you are, the less willing you will be to advocate for a better world. Because if you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to believe in the world that you're advocating for?
Yeah. If you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to believe in the world you're advocating for? Yeah. You have to be peace before you create peace.
Exactly.
Yeah. Activism, advocacy.
One, you need to be able to advocate for yourself before, not even necessarily before you're able to advocate for others. Sometimes advocating for others is how you learn to advocate for yourself. Again, in order to create your dream world or to create a world that you want to live in, it requires you being able to advocate for that world. So the book kind of operates in a foundational structure where one chapter sits on top of the other. So once you build that confidence, then you need to be able to figure out how to advocate for the world that you believe in.
Confidence is now coming up again. What is confidence in one sentence? Like for someone listening right now, they want to feel more confident. What is it?
I have a very unique relationship with confidence because I grew up in a environment that very much benefited from me not being confident. So while I have a lot of deep, deep confidence, I also am shaped by a lot of insecurity. However, I'm grateful for my insecurity because it allows me to connect with others. And I also think that contrast is necessary for everything. I think that I possess both. I would say confidence in one sentence is surrendering to, not to get super spiritual.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
But it's surrendering,
Yeah.
it's seeing myself through God's eyes.
Confidence is seeing myself through God's eyes.
Yeah. Insecurity is seeing myself through any other lens. And once I lean into that, yeah, I'm capable of anything. But of course, it requires a consistent reminding of the self, because the physical world can be very distracting.
I love this deeply. I mean, I do feel insecurity is built on the idea that if we need gratification and approval from other people, we will always need it. It's like hungry ghost. We will eat and eat and eat and eat and never be full.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely. It's a bottomless hole for sure.
And so this thing to see yourself through God's eyes is, for anyone who wants a different word, it's, maybe just to remember you are whole as you are.
Exactly.
Like
you
right
were
here.
born worthy. Yeah.
Lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning is kind of a way to reclaim education in a world where the education system is so inherently flawed. I think we're naturally curious and we're naturally learners. However, the education system has cultivated such a terrible relationship with learning, where now we equate learning with work or punishment or something that feels icky. And I think that if we rewire that relationship and lean into learning, and even every new person you meet approaching it as an opportunity to learn something as opposed to categorize or to generalize, I think is really important in order for us to show up as the best versions of ourselves and to create the worlds that we want to create.
Finally, manifestation.
Manifestation, the key, the ultimate helper in all of our endeavors. I had to include manifestation because it has been such a powerful tool and theme kind of in my life. It really encapsulates everything that comes before it in the book, but it's this idea that when you choose the most loving and authentic version of yourself, instead of choosing fear, that the universe aids you and rewards you in miraculous ways, in ways that can't be attributed to logic, that can't be attributed to, I was going to say can't be attributed to science, but I think that there are a lot of scientific principles within manifestation, in the sense that I feel like it's very repeatable and very testable and observable. I think when it comes to wanting to advocate for a better world and to create a better world, we have to use all the tools at our disposal, and to leave manifestation on the table, I think, is just a terrible mistake. And so it's a pretty simple formula. It's getting clear about what you desire, which is the first. It's huge. It's insane how many people are not honest with themselves about what they want. They don't even consider to think about what it is they truly want in their heart. I grew up always asking people the question, if you were guaranteed a $5 million salary, but you had to work 40 hours a week, what would you pick? And what was so interesting to me was not even people's answers to this question. It was how many people didn't even consider, what would I do with my life if I had full freedom? They are consistently in a survival state and thinking about, what can I do with what I have? And if we aren't honest with ourselves about what we truly desire, how are we ever going to get there? And so the first step is being honest with yourself about what it is you truly want. And then the second step is to stay in a vibration that would match what it would feel like if you had that desire now. So that is a vibration of gratitude, a vibration of enlightenment, a vibration of love. And either, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either gaslight yourself into accessing those vibrations. You can visualize, you can meditate. You can also choose activities that are available to you now that can match with those vibrations. Like for me, when I walk through nature, when I listen to my favorite music, I am in such a high vibration. And without realizing it, I am magnetizing these desires into my life by not waiting to give myself permission to access that vibration until these desires have materialized. And once you're there, Step 3 is just throwing it in the bag. They'll come.
Mm.
They'll come. And they might not come in the time that you anticipated. And when it doesn't come in the time you anticipated, it's because there is a much better time.
Mm.
And I am a huge believer in divine timing and how everything in this life that ended up happening later than when I thought it should have come into my life, I'm able to confidently say, I was so grateful that it didn't come a moment sooner. All of these principles, I think, are just extremely important for anyone who believes in dreaming and creating and living in a world beyond what others might think is possible.
Where can people order the Dreamer's Playbook?
They can order it on the dreamersplaybook.com. It's also linked on my social media, which I feel like might even be easier. You can find it anywhere. I just hope that it can reach the people that need to hear it and need to read it. It's already, of course, a feat to create the book in itself, but I really don't care about that. For me, I just want to impact as many people as I can. And so I'm excited to see the journey of the book and whose hands it ends up in and whose lives it can change. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. What is a moonshot dream for you? A dream that you think is so grand that it might not even be possible?
Oh my gosh. What is a moonshot dream for me? A dream that is so grand, it might not even be possible. Is this a cop-out answer? I've accomplished a lot of my dreams, and I think that's where I'm at right now. I would still take an Oscar, but it's not the thing I think about the most. I think about liberation.
Yeah.
I think about these kind of unimaginable feelings that are literally like they're imaginable in these sort of great beyond ways. I think about liberation. I think about this. The older I get, the more healed I become, the less ambitious I become. I think about being a source of liberation for myself and for others. You know, I talked about that vow.
Yeah.
I vow to be an agent of liberation, and I say this daily, and I practice it. I try to do my best.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel like an impossible dream, especially when we think of like how much suffering and how many thousands of years that we haven't been able to achieve it. I believe in your dream, and I don't think that it's impossible for the first time. And I'm so grateful that we were born when we were born so that we could witness it. And of course, it's a ever unfolding, and liberation will always continue to mean something different. But as far as people being able to live and not suffer, no matter where you're from and no matter what cards you were dealt, I believe in that dream. And I feel like when we collectively dream the same dream, it gives it even more power and more possibility. And I'm really excited. And I hope that one day we can record a podcast about all the ways in which those dreams are coming true.
Have come true.
Yeah, have come true. In a lot of ways, yeah, they are, and we're witnessing it right now. I mean, so many of these issues no one was even talking about. It was so scary to talk about for a long time. Not no one, of course, the brave pioneers that have given us the ability to freely talk about so many of these deeply personal and impactful issues. It's a cool time to be alive, for sure.
I want to talk to you about one last thing before we slip this. I have a thing with manifestation. I have an issue.
Okay.
And I feel privileged to say this because one of my issues with manifestation is there are times where two things. Manifestation can feel selfish. You know, like someone's like, I want this thing. And there are so many, you know, can we manifest for others as well? Which I'm not saying everyone doesn't do this. I think some people do this. My other thing with manifestation, this is why your question is so wonderful to me. I am at this crossroad in my life where I am trying not to set a goal, but to receive my purpose. I have set goals and I have walked after them, and I've filled up a Wikipedia page, and I have accomplished things, and I have a resume, and I've reached them, and I'm like, and I wasn't always the happiest in them.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to listen more than walk towards. And manifestation sometimes feels like a walking towards a thing. And I'm trying to listen to be moved more than to do the moving.
Well, this reminds me of I'm sure you've heard the quote before by Rumi. It's when you walk, the path appears.
Yeah.
And I think that very much will be the case when you are walking in your authenticity and what feels like the truest next step to you. More manifest. You end up attracting the things that you forgot that you desired, and that's why I think it's really important to write down like a list of desires. The longer, the better. And what I will do is I'll revisit it years later, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize I wanted that, and I got it, and it was because I was walking in my truth. And you just end up inadvertently attracting the things that you wanted. And I would say, yes, it is selfish, but in the same way that you realizing your dreams is a gift to the world. It's actually not as selfish as you would imagine. You actualizing the highest and best version of yourself and the most loving and the most gracious and empowered version of yourself is a gift to the world. I think it's honorable that you would think about it that way and think, oh, I don't want to, be selfish with the demands I make to the universe and just kind of be like, well, I want this and it better happen, but rather to use that opportunity to be intentional about what it is you truly want, because I don't think your true desires, the desires of your higher self and your highest self, could be selfish. I think that it might be seen that way from those who are committed to misunderstanding you, but your empowerment is related to everyone else's empowerment. And so I think it's very important for you to continue walking that path. And then, more will be revealed to you as you continue to walk. And that's the deliciousness of life, is like not even knowing what desire you're going to have a year from now. And that's why contrast is so important, because when we go through negative experiences, it gives birth to new desires that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Abraham Hicks,
yes, my favorite girl.
It's one soup pot, and we're all putting ingredients in. And
Yes.
if we can put in the most yummy ingredients,
Yes.
we make the soup taste better.
For everyone.
Exactly. I will be the most yummy, delicious thing that I can possibly be.
Yes, exactly.
Thank
Me
you.
too. I promise I'll do the same.
Thank you. That's it, y'all. Thank you for being here. I'm always grateful, and we will see you next week. Like, subscribe, share, tell your block, and email us at brownenoughproductions@gmail.com. Peace.